What's up, people? I got something important to share with everyone. So, if you didn't know, our government and most other governments around the world, and well, at least for ours, in September, they're going to do a vote on if they should sign their sovereignty, our will to govern our own country, and sign that over to the United Nations, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum. Believe it or not, it's the one world government that you've heard about growing up from the Bible. And I found a directive from the United Nations. It's Directive 001, the start of the New World Order, in our calendar year of July 4th, 2025. Imagine that. Our day of independence, they're going to steal it for their first day of bullcrap, stealing our sovereignty, blah, 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 the beginning of the New World Order. Now, there's different things that I could get into about that, and I'm just trying to make this quick video so that everyone's aware of what is going on. Now, I can't prove that this came from the United Nations. I don't know how to prove that. I'm not a researcher in the sense that I can prove everything I find, but I believe this is straight from the World Economic Forum. I really do believe that. So, here we go. And Biden already said he's going to sign this in September, right before the election, to make it so that Trump can't change it if he gets in. And I have my own theory about that as well. But let's just get on with it. And I'll try to skip over it and make it as quick as possible. I'm just going to try to hit the parts that are important. In accordance with the approval of the majority of the United Nations members, the following directive is effective upon receipt and will be implemented immediately, with the exception of those subjects or items that will obviously require additional time to change and or implement. All United Nations states will forthwith be known by their new name and corresponding number. For instance, the former nation of Canada will now be known as America Area 0001. The former United States of America will now be known as America Area 0002. The former Central America, to include the former nation of Mexico, will now be known as America Central Area 0003, and the remainder of the foreign nations of South America will collectively be known as America Area 0004. Same for Europe. The former nations in Europe will collectively and henceforth are to be known as Europe 0010, with a new map to delineate boundaries between Europe 0010 and Asia 0020. All new names for former nations within the various world continents are listed in the addendum to this directive, along with new maps in order to establish boundaries and locations of main United Nations control centers, which will administer all future government, administrative, military, and policing responsibilities. So when I'm telling you they are taking over everything, that's exactly what I mean. As of March 17, 2025, the former United States of America has turned over their military and police forces to the United Nations for control and responsibility, and they will be disbanded or integrated into our global United Nations forces as soon as possible. The former United States of America, being the last nation to cede authority over to the United Nations Security Council, has created untold problems and delays for our United Nations plans, and will soon feel the brunt of rapid and decisive changes to meet our scheduled goals of a unified one world government. The entire executive branch of the former United States government is hereby dismissed, as our selective United Nations leaders will assume those duties, with an improved administrative council to assume those duties. The The judicial branch is likewise dismissed immediately, as United Nations judges have been selected and are waiting to assume the task. However, the legislative branch will remain at their post until they are incrementally relieved of their duties by UN representatives not yet selected or in place to discharge those responsibilities. Like this insanity with Ukraine, them wanting to just send money and money and money and money. And it makes you wonder, they've obviously lost the war. That's apparent. So why the need to keep sending billions of our tax dollars? In my opinion, they are just getting rich before the end. Because what they do, one thing that they do, is they funnel the money into Ukraine, back into the Democratic National Committee, and they split it up. And they buy gold, they buy precious metals, they buy diamonds, they buy houses, they buy land, farms. Not so much vehicles, because those won't really be used anymore. But anything that they can hold in their hand as, look, I'm rich. That's my opinion, what Ukraine and all this is about, is just to squander what's left of the remaining resources before all this goes into play. Anyway, questions regarding this directive or further concerns should be held in abeyance until United Nations representatives for your respective locations have arrived to resolve pending issues and questions. For the immediate moment, you may continue your... You see how they are? For the immediate moment, you may continue your life as you have in the past. Oh, they're so good to us. However, the instructions below are not to be questioned or disputed. Don't even question it. You will all have sufficient time to understand and follow these in the future directives, orders, and regulations as they are formulated and issued. Please do not panic, and you will find our new world transforming into one of a society of planetary excellence. Orders to all personnel of former federal, state, county, and local governmental entities. On July 5th, 2025, you will commence to repaint all ships, aircraft, vehicles, both military and civilian, to the UN blue color. So all the police cars, everything will be painted UN blue, as has been already completed in all other nations of the world. Aircraft, ship, and vehicle numbering will remain as is, with the exception that the UN or United Nations wording will precede all numbers and letters. You are further instructed to make preparations to change all uniforms for both military and civil police units to the UN light blue colors. Ever hear about the blue helmets? Essentially, it's China's military will be kind of like the world's police force. So when they sign all this stuff and they sign our sovereignty over, I know this for a fact, that then entails that the UN can send in their military for whatever they deem they need to send it in for. Civil unrest, weather-related issues, climate control. Remember, the World Economic Forum owns the science on climate change. So if you own something that you want people to buy, you want them, you're trying to sell it to them, you want them to buy it. So when you own something and you're trying to get people to fall in line, that's exactly what owning a science is. It doesn't mean it's real science. It just means that's what they say is going to happen, and you better frickin' listen or else. So you just wait, you'll hear. All instructions or directives from the United Nations Security Council or United Nations representatives will be understood to be applicable to the entire former nation or nations and will be enforced throughout all areas and locations. Failure to comply or resist will be met by violent and brutal force, and those not in compliance should expect to be shot on sight. Yeah, you heard that right. Shot on sight. Klaus Schwab was a family of the Nazis. His dad was a high-ranking Nazi, worked hand-in-hand with Hitler, and he calls this new world order thing that they have planned the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Well, when Hitler was around, he called his thing the Third Reich. So essentially, this is just the Fourth Reich. That's all this is. And why I bring that up is because that's the kind of they're not going to play games. Just like the Nazis didn't play games, just like the Nazis had no problem sitting there eating a steak while Jews were literal skin and bones. They looked like walking skeletons if you've never seen them. They want us to eat bugs while they eat steak. And we better do what we're told or we get shot or we starve to death. I mean, they trust me, don't take this lightly. Don't take this lightly at all, because this is no freaking joke. Anyway, the United Nations Council members and their representatives have neither the time nor inclination to debate concerns or to negotiate loss of authority, property, income, or so-called freedoms. So-called freedoms. Because to them, they are Satanists, they are Luciferians, and we believe as Christians, people that believe in God, believe that our rights, our freedoms come from God. So, a satanic government will want to take those away from you, just like the one world government of the Bible that we've heard so much about. All future authority and control is in the hands of the UN, and any interference in our attainment scheduled goals will not be tolerated and will be dealt with through jailing or swift elimination. Don't be thinking that everyone's just going to be put in jail. And even, if you were lucky to be put in jail, if you weren't just shot on sight, you will be eating bugs. You will live in squalor. There won't be any protection. They're going to throw you in there, lock the cell, and walk away and not care if you're starving, if you're having a heart attack. There will be no medical services provided. You'll find out here in a second. Hospitals and clinics will continue to administer medical services as in the past. However, all hospital and clinics will have management replacements, and future medical services will be provided as per UN directive, soon to be published. While free care will be available to all, individuals over 50 years of age will not be allowed to have replacement organs because, well, you're halfway dead, so why bother? As the costs are unacceptable and the individual will have limited abilities, limited abilities to perform needed work for our planet's future, because they worship the created thing. They worship creation, not the creator. So that's where, think about it. If they have an artificial sun and can force climate change when there wasn't real climate change, they've been messing with the weather for over 100 years. They've gotten it down pretty good. So, they're out there doing all this stuff. They're chemtrailing. I don't care if you don't believe it. Look up in the stinking sky and you see one plane flying where all the crystal or the white disappears behind the jet, and then you have a jet that flies by and leaves big lines across the sky. You can't deny that. You can try to deny it and you can lie to yourself, but the truth is the truth, and people have proven it scientifically that they are messing with the climate to push this agenda. Similarly, those with diseases or deformities, to include children and infants, that preclude future possibilities for work and enhancement to their locales will have approved euthanasia used, depending on the individual circumstances and abilities. And I have a stepson and a stepdaughter who have a lot of health problems. They would be euthanized. They wouldn't be able to do whatever nightmare scenario they have planned for for all of us. If you can't perform your duties, and what I think about is a chain gang, whether you're free or not, because when this all happens, they will tell you what job you're going to have. There will be no more paychecks. You will not save money. I cannot even begin to tell you this is Nazi 2.0. This is the Fourth Reich of the Nazis, I assure you. I cannot stress that enough. Schools and universities. If you're wondering, I have metal plates in my face, so that's kind of why this looks strange. This is all metal right here. So, just a disclaimer. This light makes my face look strange when in reality it doesn't look that way when you see me in the daylight, but because of the way the light is shining, you can really see this piece of metal right here around my eye. Anyway, I just figured I'd throw that out there. Sorry, my eye just got itchy when I touched it. Schools and universities, colleagues will continue to operate as scheduled and until such time as administrators and educators are tested and returned to their classrooms. That is, in accordance with UN educational directives. I just can't believe this next part. Not this. Teachers and educators not meeting UN standards or following UN directives will replace. New jobs will be found for the willing. Those unwilling to cooperate will soon be on the streets seeking other vocations, or you'll be dead. Farmers who grow food products and corporations which process foods and wholesale them will continue to operate as normal until given further instructions. However, all farming and corporation equipment will be painted the UN blue color, and numbering or lettering will be changed in the same manner as listed in order number 1 above. I mean, these people. Police organizations of all types and kinds, which include federal, state, county, and local police, are now under the control and authority of the UN. This is one of the crazier parts. While formal written charges will be promulgated to each and every police entity very soon, you are now an approved UN police force and will take all future directions from your local UN representatives. We expect resistance in many forms to our orders. Therefore, you are now authorized and have shoot to kill authorization to anyone opposing you or our directives, and that includes your fellow police officers. So like, oh, hey, Jimmy over there is trying to help some old lady. Shoot him in the fucking head because he's not doing what we told him to do. That's how serious this is. You think of all the people that are already, like Justin Trudeau's cabinet has been infiltrated. You look at the young global leaders of the World Economic Forum school, and that's what they've done. They've taken people and put them in key positions around the world, whether it's in government or corporations. They have put people in key so that when this gets pushed through, they will have all the people in the right place to push it through. There will be no fighting this. And if you try, hold on, I got something for you. Anyway, there is no need to be concerned with trials or charges against you personally, as you have been granted authority to shoot anyone resisting your authority at any time. So they can just shoot you for whatever they see fit. All trials are on hold indefinitely, and murderers, rapists, child molesters, arsonists, drug dealers, and prostitutes will be shot on sight, or until such time as more controllable situation can be established and further guidelines provided. Number 7, we acknowledge that some armed resistance from some police, military, and veteran groups, as well as from groups and individuals of various other patriotic beliefs or even anarchists, is to be expected. So, see, they have a plan for this. These people or groups will be eliminated either by your own forces or by those forces assigned by the UN military command. All nuclear, biological, and chemical weaponry are now under UN control and will be used in those areas where resistance proves to take too long. So if you're living in an area where there's a lot of patriots, well, they'll just blow you apart. They'll just blow your whole town out of the water and you'll be gone, the town's gone, and they don't have to deal with you anymore. And that's what they want. They want to kill probably 90%. Do you remember the Georgia Guidestones with keeping the population under 500 million? Well, those 500 million are only the super rich elite people that are left on the planet. Their plan is to get rid of all of us. We have built their systems. They don't need us anymore. They have AI. They have robots that can make robots. They don't need people anymore, and we're just trashing their planet. And they don't want us around anymore, driving our cars, having hot rods, my favorite thing. They don't want you doing anything. They want you dead. They want your kids dead. They want to extinguish all life on the planet except theirs and their family lineage. Those who believe they can take a 30-30 rifle or 22 pistol rifle and oppose us are sadly mistaken. Do you remember when Biden said that it was dumb to try to fight the government with a machine gun when they have F-15s and all their weaponry? How dumb it would be for patriots to try to fight the evil government? Sound familiar? That's why I believe this is real, because everything they're saying is everything I knew was coming. Everything that Biden has said, he is a World Economic Forum puppet, and the whole thing with letting the border open was to destroy this country. So when they go to take it over, I mean, they'll just unleash these freaking nut jobs on that they've let through the southern border. They'll give them all guns and let them take us out. I used to hear about this from Dabu 7 and a couple other people where they said we would fight these foreigners for our land, and I just thought that was just too far out there. I'm starting to wonder now. We're our biggest threat. We are their biggest threat, and Donald Trump is also their biggest threat. And at least that's what it seems like on the surface, to where they want to pull his Secret Service detail, the Biden admin, the regime. They want to pull it so that he can be shot and killed. Yeah, they're trying to pull his security detail that all presidents have always had. Further, if resistance continues for an extended period of time, then atomic and or nuclear weapons may not be authorized. So it will require very stupid people to want to oppose this inevitable change in government. And your demise will simply allow our plans to progress at a steadier rate. Everyone is expendable with the exception of senior UN leaders and their families. So do not provide our council with the excuse to eliminate you, your friends, and your neighbors. So they don't even care about the lower level United Nations people. They're expendable. The only ones that aren't are what I call the royalty World Economic Forum, UN, World Health Organization, all of them, international money, all of them. They are all royalty that aren't allowed to be touched. Everyone else is expendable. All illegal drugs and alcohol sales are hereby prohibited. So they're getting rid of drugs and alcohol completely, which I'm not going to say is a bad thing. And a minimum 20-year jail sentence will be imposed on a first offense. Second offense won't be tolerated, and abusers will be eliminated, as mentally ill patients will have no redeemable value. Smokers will be given 90 days to end that habit and will be sentenced to 5 years in jail if sufficient progress is not noted. During allowable that period, the problem may take care of itself in the future, as all tobacco sales will be prohibited in the near future. All forms of religion and religious beliefs are hereby prohibited. All churches will cease to hold services, and buildings and structures that are not demolished will be used for the needs of the UN organizations. All religious icons, books, and paraphernalia are to be destroyed before the UN representatives arrive. They alone will determine the best use of the building or structure, or whether to simply demolish them. Children past the age of 5 will be sent to UN schools for future schooling and training. Parents will be allowed to visit with their children on a semi-annual basis for a 3-day period. So for 6 days a year, you can visit your kids while they're being brainwashed at the UN schools. The task of changing the previous government is an enormous task and will take time to implement all planned goals. The corporation and assistance of each individual to speedily attain these objectives is required by our council members. Those who cooperate will find their futures to be more pleasant. Those who refuse to cooperate will find they are no longer needed and will find their future plans may be short-lived. So, this is the nightmare that everybody's been waiting on. September they vote if they're going to sign our sovereignty over. And Biden already said, he's a puppet. His Build Back Better slogan when he stole the election in 2020, that came from the World Economic Forum's website. Could you imagine how corrupt Joe Biden's been in the 50 years he's been in office? How much stuff they probably have on him? How they, just had him by the gonads and, there was no fighting it. Of course, not that he cared. He thinks he's going to be royalty and his family's going to be royalty. Nobody cares about Joe Biden. The guy's a total piece of garbage, and they're going to throw him away like one. I mean, the guy's already got dementia. He already sold his soul, and this is what he got for it. So I mean, was it worth it, Joe? I don't think so. But this is scary, and everyone should know about this. Everyone should know that this is coming, that this is a real thing. If you don't believe me, look it up about the vote in September. I mean, there's information out there about it. Just go look it up if you don't believe me. I'd do it, or I don't want to make this video any longer than it already is. But I mean, we need to fight this. That we're dead. Because what's the point? Did you hear what I just read to you? What's worth being alive if we can't be free? I think COVID was a dry run to see if they could take over the world. And something happened, because their plans were to do this all by 2050. They did something down in Antarctica. People believe it to be a ritual. Well, I know this is crazy talk to some people, but I don't know how much proof anyone needs that everything is turning evil. But I believe that was when they came back from Antarctica, they pushed all their plans to 2030. So something they found out, something they learned down there, changed that they had to push this harder and faster, which means that's even more dangerous for us. I don't want to be the one to bring this news to people, but how else are we going to know to fight back and what to fight back against? Our only hope is that Donald Trump is who he says he is, and he wins the next election, and then he does fight all this. But, I always wondered if these last so many years of presidential elections could be like the world, like the WWE, the WWF. They fight out on the stage, are all enemies, but backstage they're all buddies and friends. And, how do we know that Trump, I am a Trump supporter. Don't get me wrong. I will be voting for Trump. I don't trust anyone. I've seen too much in this life to just fully trust someone, especially someone I don't know. And I just wonder if all this isn't a big facade, and then he gets elected and becomes king of this part of the United Nations government. I doubt it, but I don't trust any fully, and I just will never fully trust anything. So I don't know what to believe anymore. All I know is that we have something very scary coming at us, and it's time to stop screwing around and really become proactive in trying to fight this. I know this is real. And you're going to find out one way or another that this was real too. You can leave me all the nasty comments and remarks if because I know this is scary, and people don't deal with fear very well, and they get angry at the person telling them that this is coming. So getting angry at me isn't going to help anything. Getting angry at the right people is what's going to help. Getting angry at the Democrats and half of the Republicans at this point. Look at Mike Johnson. What a freaking failure. What a loser. What a hopeless piece of garbage he turned out to be. We just, every single time we think we have hope, it's like they just pay him off, or I don't know what they're doing, but they're convincing all these people to turn against everything that is supposed to be their core values. And they're getting them to flip and do what they want done. So, I don't know. I don't have any single answer for this. All I know is that we got to fight, and we got to spread this information and get it widely known so everyone knows that this is coming, and we need to try to do something about it. All right, I'm going to shut up now. This video has been long enough. Good luck out there. I wish you all the best. I don't want this to happen. I want to live out my years as a happy, free American, a happy, free Christian is what I want. And that for my family and for your family and for you. whether we get along or not. I'm not your enemy. I don't hate you because you don't believe the same things I believe. But they sure as enough hate us for what we believe. Get the news out there.